Hello and welcome to, oh god, I almost said Creature Club, Villain Squad. It's a interstitial podcast all about the evil organizations that populate the world of Dungeons & Dragons. I am Daniel and I'm joined by my stalwart co-host, Mikey DC.
Thank you for having me on the show again, Daniel. I did like a little lean into the microphone. I feel like I'm on the radio now.
It was very good. God, I could fucking see you in the turtleneck with the like gray blazer, like sort of with the like glasses half down your nose, kind of leaning in slightly as you started to speak.
And here's the problem, Joe. We need to build more roads. The government aren't giving us enough money.
This is an excellent start.
It is. Hello, everybody. How's it going? I am your co-host, Mikey DC.
So this is Villain Squad. It's a podcast, as I said, about villainous organizations, groups dedicated to evil and malfeasance. We've done a couple of different styles of Villain Squads in the past even. Most recently we did the Assassin's Guild, myself and Tim, and this week we're doing something a little similar, but hopefully different enough that we can still talk about it and explore the space, because I think it's still interesting and still exciting. So what are we doing this week, Mikey?
We're going to talk about criminal gangs in any shape or form. Either like kind of, I'm thinking kind of like a city-based crime family, crime gang. Because I'm running one kind of right now as a villain squad. So it's kind of fresh in my head, and I thought that might be a fun idea to do. And just, when you have crimes, it's always fun to have like they're coming from one spot. It's kind of, that's a fun little kind of,
putting a face to the idea, right? Like rather than crime just being like a statistic in the town your players are in, be like, oh, this is the shrouded beard, and he's the biggest drug boss in the North Continent or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that was terrible.
It's right. No, the shrouded beard. He's in charge of all the crime. No, I'm sorry. No, I'm saying it. He's in charge of crime in the entire place. And now that you know that, you're like, okay. And if because D&D, it doesn't have to be realistic. If you know crime's coming from one place, then you're like, all right, we have to defeat that guy because that's where all the crime's happening, and we're the good guys.
Yeah.
And it's fun. I feel like it can lead to a lot of like fun, like investigation. To kind of, you're trying to ask people around the place. You're like, how do we find these people? And they're all hidden and stuff, and they don't want to keep their names out. I can picture like trying to like investigate and ask questions to somebody in like a tavern, but they don't want to talk at all because they feel like their family are going to get hurt. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Classic crime investigation story stuff. So.
Yeah.
But because I'm such a big dweeb, I want to have all my crime guys all superpowered and all, fantasy characters. So that's why we're doing it in D&D. So
yeah,
that's what we're doing today.
I mean, like, and I think that's something that should suit D&D naturally. Like, I think maybe because of its basis in medieval fantasy, we all there's a sort of a habit that like your players will be like a half-orc druid and the gnome time sorcerer and the last vestige of a dying god given human flesh, who only talks in rhyming couplets, and then everyone else is normal people, and you're like, no, hang on.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's like, I'm just a man.
True, you would live in a zoo, like.
I'm very bad for that as well. I kind of forget that I have to have other races and stuff, so it's always regular NPCs on the street are just, I'm just a human, and then the villains are all the weird guys, and the heroes are all the weird guys, so...
but I think that's not a problem, but more so like the idea that like, who runs this town? Oh, a boring noble. Well, who's in charge of him? Oh, a boring king. And like, well, who's in charge of the king? Nobody. It's like, why is everyone boring? Like, why isn't the king really cool and enviable? And you're like, when I am level 15, I want to be a king, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, or when I'm level 7, I want to replace that lord because I want to be as like clever and politically motivated and as powerful, maybe not necessarily politically, but I want to replace it with like pure like martial might.
Yeah.
But I still want to have that canniness. Something I've always pushed for is the idea that like anyone in your world who's important is a high level person. So like,
Oh, yeah.
a noble you negotiate with is high level, but like not because they've got enough boar asses, right? They haven't gone out and collected 100 boar asses and cashed them in for the sweet quest XP. They've just like received, for example, a lot of training from very qualified people, because obviously this is true to real life. Rich people received lots of education and therefore were better educated.
Yeah.
And according to the rules of D&D, you can pay people to train you to make you a better leveled character. So if we assume that all training acts as experience points, then presumably a well-educated noble has levels, but just in like noble rather than in Figator, because they're like, well, why would I need to Figator? I have men to do that for me.
Exactly. Yeah, they had basically the best teachers, the best swordsmen, the best teachers, all that stuff, teaching them since they were younger. If they're like a king or like a noble or whatever, they're like, all right, we want to pay the best people to make them the best people. So let's get the best swordsman or one of the best swordsmen we can afford to teach our young lordling to one day be a great king and be able to fight as well. So, that's what you see in a lot of like medieval fiction anyway, where like the nobles were taught how to fight because whatever, that's what you do. You have to lead.
Yeah. And even the idea that like, canny political maneuvering and things like that would give you experience. Like,
exactly.
Going like negotiating for an effective treaty or being able to deal with your like, bordering lords and not lose out in like, the great game of houses to them is arguably like a greater victory than killing 17 boars and collecting their asses. Like,
collecting their asses. I
don't know why boar asses are my go-to, but I guess it's just because it feels like the kind of thing that you're like, what? Who would ever want this? Like,
yeah, exactly. But it's very
like, why would
RPG.
You want,
you've done that
why
before.
Would you want this part of the boar and nothing else?
Yeah,
like,
I have collected many a boar ass in many different RPG before. I have been there, man.
Heroes.
When you've mentioned like in your like people being like high level characters, it kind of reminds me in my setting. I pretty much just made a big, I guess, evil empire because I wanted to make the emperor basically Frieza from Dragon Ball Z and just have him the strongest guy in the empire because he's the emperor and that's it. Like and I feel like
I fucking love that though. Like,
yeah. I feel like you need to have a Frieza, a like super powerful emperor who has all the power and is just bad because he is,
because like if you're the biggest and baddest, because if you're the biggest, strongest for long enough, you start to be dismissive of other people and assume that like your state is the default.
Exactly.
It's like the Spiral King in Gurren Lagann and how he's kind of initially quite an unsympathetic character. And it's then because the idea is like he got so used to being the strongest that it was hard for him to like understand people anymore.
Oh yeah, exactly. There's a lot of stuff. You just that's what D&D's about, man. Like, do whatever the hell you want. So it doesn't have to always be. Yeah. If you want to have, low level lords, go ahead. But you don't have to all the time. Do what you want to do.
Yeah, you can do them. You can absolutely do a mixture, and even that's probably the best thing to do, right?
Yeah,
because then it
that's what I do.
Your purposes when they're low level. But I suppose the general argument is like, there's a lot of implications, especially in, and this was sort of something that wasn't the case earlier on, but is more so the case now. That like the lords and ladies of the world are like mildly incompetent nobles who just have the money by luck and like to use it to get like plucky adventurers to deal with their problems. But like in AD&D, it was like the local lord is like a 7th level fighter, like who retired, like because they're richer than you'll ever be, and they were like, actually, this is fine. Like, I'm done.
He's just off doing his own thing as well. On the like, I have to collect my own separate boar asses here, right? You go do your thing, and then I'll talk to you later.
I have to collect celestial boar asses, so I have to go to the plane, like the plane of Arcadia, to do that. So
but
it's back in a bit.
It is just like 2 tiers of boar asses above the regular standard boar ass. Really,
it's all tiers of boar asses. That's all it is, up and down.
Yeah, that's what D&D is about.
You're always collecting somebody's boar ass. D&D.
Oh man, we're deep in
That's
it.
that's a surprisingly grim indictment of the narrative style.
It really is, yeah.
God,
Do we have a
let's
point to
some
this?
fun.
Yeah, we had a point to this where
The point was that there's nothing weird about your gang leaders being like high level, superpowered weirdos.
yes, exactly, because that's what your players are. And the philosophy of Villain Squad, why I kind of wanted to start it, is that if you because D&D is full of strange player characters, because your players want to play weird characters because they get to create their own character, and they want to make them as cool and ridiculous and whatever they want to be. But if you should what we said in the first episode, and what I like to think as a philosophy we stuck by, is that iconic characters and main characters should have iconic villains as well, and that's why we have to do it like this. So
yeah, I mean, like, to go back to an earlier point, what you're making, like Frieza is a great example.
Yeah,
of like an iconic villain being almost as important as the main character.
Yes, very much so. Just kind of like an app. He's at the time he was like a very a complete foil to Goku at the time, really, where he never trained in his life to get his power, and he was just kind of given everything, really, and all that. And he's kind of condescending. He's he's very condescending, not kind of, but just a very there's a lot of foils to Goku through Dragon Ball, but he was at the time kind of the ultimate one. But as it kept going, there's always different villains for different. Yeah, you get me. But whatever. Yeah, cool. So how should we start this then? How shall we? Which kind of angle should we go with this one?
I think a good start might be, let's touch on some references. What do we want to use as reference material for our criminal gang, our crime gang?
Crime gang.
Because you know what my big inspiration is for stuff like this?
Go for it.
It's Crackdown.
You mean the game where?
Not kidding.
You mean the game I paid like, I don't know, $40 to play the Halo 3 beta?
No, I mean, in Crackdown 2, and then he goes, "I'm releasing more freaks, Agent," and you're like, "This game isn't very good."
Yeah, it's sick Crackdown 2 reference there, Daniel.
Thank you. No, I'm talking about Crackdown.
Yes.
So Crackdown had this really, excellent, almost D&D-esque implicit arc in the game, where so you started off obviously as a low-level agent, and whenever you did anything, you got experience, right? So whenever you shot a guy, you got shooting experience. Whenever you punched a guy, you got punching experience. Whenever you got one of the sweet up orbs, you got up experience, and whenever you hit someone with a car, you got driving experience. And if there was another kind of experience, honestly, I can't remember it.
I don't remember Crackdown too much. I just remember
jumping.
I remember instantly putting on cheats and jumping around the city. That's it.
Oh, DC.
Sorry, man.
No, it's fine. But so you are playing the game, and as you do things, right, you basically do the equivalent. You literally do the equivalent of level up and get stronger, which is what you do in D&D. But also, as you do things, there's a city, and how it works is each district in the city is owned by a different gang, and locations in the city are housed by gang bosses. But the gang bosses all have they have their own hierarchies. So there's always one big bad at the top of the gang, and then they will have 3 or 4 lieutenants, and each of those lieutenants will have another 3 or 4 lieutenants. So each gang has about 12 members, but how it works is whenever you hit one of the lower rungs, it catches upwards into the higher rungs of the gang. So for example, one gang is really into street racing, so their guys are oh, we've got one lieutenant who does the guns, and one lieutenant who does the cars, and one lieutenant who does the recruitment. So when you take out the guy who does guns, all the guys in the head honcho's base have worse guns.
Yeah.
When you take out their cars, they don't have as many cars. We take out their recruitment, they don't have as many members guarding the base. And so this idea that each sort of piece of the puzzle is responsible for something, and as the players pick away at it, it starts to lose part of what it's capable of, and therefore, so almost the idea of there being like that same open-ended feeling of like, okay, well, there's 5 lieutenants and 1 big boss, and everyone knows that everyone knows that the shrouded beard like hangs out in this part of town. But if you want to march up on him, you'll probably just die because, he's got wicked numbers of goons, and there's only 5 of you or 4.
You got to take it up. You got to take him up, take him off, or you have to take him on. Sorry, to start from the grunts and keep going up from that. Which what kind of reminds me of, which is not really much of a, which is kind of a crime game, but not really. Shadow of Mordor.
Yeah, no, actually, that's fair.
Like the mechanic reminds you of it, but orcs. Yeah, sure, they're criminals, but like not really.
Yeah,
kind of a stretch there. I know.
In D&D, if you die, you don't get to like come back and find out that the guy who killed you got promoted like as often. Certainly.
Hey, what the hell? He got promoted. And he's like, Ranger, I see you over there. What the hell? I thought I killed you. What's going on?
I'm not dead.
Oh shit!
What's up?
I
paid a priest 7 gold and he brought me back.
But I definitely get that where if you have your crime gang, you have your villain squad pretty much available and have them there, then hanging out, like, they like to hang out in this tavern where they just hang out all day and they do their crime there. Your players can know that. If they want to fight them, they can know that, we can just march up them any time. But you kind of have to, which I don't know how to do this, because sometimes if you, like, I'll explain first. You can have your players go up to them at any time, or but they'll die if they don't weaken them first. But what I was about to say was that's kind of hard to do, because players, when you give them a villain, they kind of instantly want to go for it, no matter what the consequences are. And I've noticed a lot of players wanting to do that anyway in my past experiences of games. It's kind of like that. Like if you give it stats, they will want to fight it mentality.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose it depends. Like it depends on like a lot of factors. I almost like the idea that, they can wind up, like just going for the bad guys and getting beaten up and losing, because that's a cool narrative arc for them to then come back and be like, but for real this time, what's up?
That's been my game right now, actually, to be honest. Where
go on.
They have basically they messed with a crime family called the Raven Song in my game, and they the Raven Song went up to him and went like, "Here, listen, we'll pay us money and we'll protect your place." And they're like, "No, wait, man, we're not going to do that." He's like, "I'm not going to do that." Okay, cool. Well, we'll see you later. Like, wait, what does that mean? And then they come back later. They beat him up a little bit, and then like, all right, cool, whatever, that's fine. They beat us up, that's fine. And let's go to their place and blow up their house. And then they pretty much went to one of their houses, blew it up with dynamite, and then they came back in the middle of the night and they killed one of my party members, which I kind of brought back because I was like, all right, my player liked this character, I'm going to bring him back from the dead. Whatever, I don't need to explain that part. But they fought him, and then they went back again to pretty much fight it. After a couple of sessions, they went back again to fight them, and then it was a TPK, and now they're back, and because reasons, but like they just kept losing over and over again.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I guess like it kind of depends. Like my instinct would be, for example, like my instinct would be like if they attack the base and lose, like I would be like, all right, well, the criminal gang like might just kill them. But they might not. They might like hang them up and they might hang the party up in stocks and leave them out in the street as a warning.
Yeah.
Right. And be like, this is what happens when you mess with us. Or even like to demonstrate how much control that the criminal gang has over the city. You might even say that the players are arrested and sent to jail. Right.
Yeah.
Like that they control the guards basically. So like you just go to jail and now you're a criminal. Like literally like. You tried to fight them and now you've been branded a criminal, and then maybe like the players can either like sit out their time where they can do a cool prison escape, and maybe like meet allies in jail who like them have been tossed in there by the criminals, and so they can start gathering allies. But I think the fact of the matter is, like, you, depending on the kind of party you have and depending on how they roll, you either have to tell them through NPCs, like, what you're doing is suicide, or tell them through the party what they're doing is suicide. And, like, the easiest way to do that is just have a rogue. Like, if there's a rogue in the party, just be like, oh, you know everything, you know most things about this crime gang, or you can learn it very quickly because you're in that world, you're part of that underworld. So, like, you know, if the party's like, oh, we'll just go up on their main, like, base of operations and mess with them, like, you just tell the rogue, you know that's a terrible idea. Like,
like spider sense tingling.
Literally the equivalent of, like, you know, you are well versed enough in this field that there's no way that you don't know this is a bad idea. Like, like, even a level 1 rogue knows better than to do this. Like, yeah, you guys are pretty strong, but there's 5 of you, and there's, like, at least 24 of them. So, like, unless you're very confident that you can take on, like, 3 people each, not knowing what they're capable of or what kind of defenses they have. And I guess that's the thing, right? Like, you can tell the rogue, like, this is a bad idea because you're street smart, but you can also tell, like, the fighter, like, this is a bad idea because you know about warfare. You can be like, especially someone with a soldier background, you can be like, this is a terrible idea.
And, like, and also,
if you were just sword and board front line, but you know this is stupid and you'll die. Like,
exactly. Also, if they happen to, like, fight off one of the lieutenants and their squad, and make that a hard fight, then hopefully that will kind of teach them, we're like, okay, that was hard. They'll probably just get a bit harder after this. Maybe we should take them on one by one instead of going at attacking them in their base of operations, because that'll be harder than this. But I don't know how you can do it hard. Maybe that's his idea anyway. That's his top of my head. But yeah, okay, that's interesting. That's cool. So how about we come up with the strange, crazy lieutenants, because that's my favorite part of Villain Squad, is coming up with the kooky characters that we.
All right, if we're gonna come up with the kooky, if you want to spend the time on the kooky characters, will we settle on a boss man real quick?
Yes. Just, like, all right. So
not drop in.
We should start with him, exactly, or them, or whoever.
So what kind of gang do you want to make? So the Raven song you have in your game are, like, shadow goons, right? Like, they're all about shadow magic and stuff like that.
Basically, they are kind of they're in the underbelly. Not a lot of people know about them, and I guess technically they fight. How they fight, they're all kind of shadow based. Really, they have, like, some sort of shadow influence kind of magic to them, but because the city that they're playing, that the game is playing in, is kind of like supposed to be like a big beacon of peace, that a crime family like this is very unheard of. So I kind of wanted to keep them. Oh, they're, you know, not a lot of people know about them, or people do know about them, but they're kind of keeping a lot on the down low. And I like the idea that the Raven was the Raven anyway of Raven song. He's the main boss guy. Nobody knows about him. I took a lot of inspiration from JoJo's Part 5 that's out now. From the main baddie of that, who is nobody knows.
The boss of Passione.
Exactly. Nobody knows about him at all, and no one can, not even the lieutenants, know who he is, really. They just kind of know his name, and he mainly walks around in a big kind of, like, you know, like hooded. He has, like, a hood on. He has, like, armor. But no one's ever seen his face, and no one knows who he is. People just know him as the Raven. So, and that's it. And that's kind of, I guess, his philosophy he wanted to keep for the gang as well. So, where everything is coming from him somehow. Where if there's drugs, it's from him, but no one knows about it. If there's mugging, it's probably him as well. If it's extortion, it's him. Whatever. But it's shadow goons. That's it, really. But I didn't know if we wanted to go with my villain squad anyway. But I thought we wanted to maybe go with something different. But I don't mind kind of elaborating on mine if you want to. But
I was going to suggest something quite different.
Yes, then go ahead.
To let you move away from it, and my son.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so so obviously like shadow is a great motif for crime because obviously like that's when crime does what crime is, and smells.
Yeah. Tastes.
I'm having a stroke. No, I was thinking what we might do instead is like double down into like kind of a weird science alchemist vibe
Okay.
and sort of do like like bad alchemists making addictive potions effectively.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
Um
And then
so playing more to the mad science angle.
yeah, and then that can be almost, you can do kind of like the fun, not really fun, but kind of like the dramatic like drug ring kind of stuff going on there. Your Breaking Bad's kind of storytelling there, but like fantasy style. But it's like mad drugs basically that they're making, and also explosives and stuff maybe as well.
Yes. Yeah, exactly, yeah. And that's interesting. So like maybe this gang is operating out of a port, and their leader is a very talented like alchemist, and they've created the new cool drug that all the kids are using. But maybe like also they like deal in like blackpowder bombs and like weird concoctions like that power up your goons temporarily, and so like they're kind of feeding this violence and like exporting it through the docks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we've got like a couple of elements. We've got like the weapon side of things and the concoctions and the drugs, and then we've got kind of the dock workers and the carters and sort of like all the different people involved to let this like thing work, I guess.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And you can actually, that can go with pirates as well. Maybe there's pirates. Maybe it's being a pirate game somehow, where if it's going through a dock, maybe. But
so the boss is the chief alchemist, the foremost, and I like the idea that they are maybe they're like Jekyll and Hyde, sort of like a sort of a bestial form, like a base form, and then sort of a civilized form.
Yeah. I do love the idea. I've always loved the idea of a scientist drinking a potion and then becoming a monster. It's just a fun little image to have in your D&D game, I think, It's
he's turning into a monster.
I'm transforming. It's happening.
You can't stop me. So yeah, that's interesting. Do we want to do something where like this alchemist leader is like a chemically enhanced like werebeast? So he's like a wereboar or like a were-tiger.
Okay, yeah.
But he's maybe not made by a curse. He did a bad potion and turned himself into a were-tiger. Or
kind of like what Shredder did with Bebop and Rocksteady, I think what they're called, maybe, in Turtles.
Honestly, man, that's too deep a cup for me. I was going to say like Lizard from Spider-Man, but like...
Oh, yes, like Lizard from Spider-Man. Yeah, we'll go with that. Or even actually Bane, maybe, to an extent.
I guess, yeah, like Bane with Venom to an extent, yeah.
Yeah. But yes, no, yeah, Lizard makes more sense, but...
I have no idea. You could be right about Bebop and Rocksteady, but I couldn't tell you.
I think some sort of like magic ooze made them, I think.
Are you sure you're not thinking of the Ninja Turtles?
No, it's the same kind of ooze. It's the same. I don't know. I don't know what's turtle canon anymore, to be honest with you, because I think that might have been in the movie.
Fair.
Or I don't know if it's in the comics or the show. I'm not sure, man. There's a lot of turtle stuff now.
If you can explain the Turtles as to whether this is a relevant reference with Bebop and Rocksteady, please get in touch.
Yeah, please. Message us right now. Go on to @CreatureClubPod on Twitter and send us a tweet.
That's the easiest place for us to know. That'd be really handy.
Yes.
Okay, so, yeah, like Lizard from Spider-Man, who is a brilliant scientist who lost his arm, who then used science to try and regrow his arm, but became an evil lizard.
Yeah, he was a mediocre fighter, but he was a brilliant scientist. Continue.
I don't know if I want to. No. So if we say that this, the leader of this gang is some kind of like chemically engineered werebeast, and maybe as sort of a way of giving them a kind of a tragic angle, we might say that that's how they started. That they wanted to replace something lost in their own body or bring back a dead loved one, and then they went from that and somehow kind of descended into criminality. Maybe like they made a drug, maybe they made a potion that like heals your wounds but also gets you like high as balls or whatever, and like people were like, yo, hit me up, like I'm good potion wise, but I want the high, and he needed the money or something. But that's not important because your players are just going to kick in his door and beat the shit out of him anyway.
Give me my fucking money, Dracula.
Give me my fucking money, Dracula, you little bitch. That comic panel is unreal.
It's great.
It's so good. I have no idea what it's from, but I don't care. I like to think Castlevania, but I'm probably wrong.
I'm not sure if it is Castlevania. It looks like Moon Knight. He looked like
actually, you know what? That might be it.
But I don't know if that actually is Moon Knight. I don't think he would say that. I'm not sure.
Moon Knight's pretty civil generally.
Yeah, maybe it's just someone made a. I have no idea what. Yeah.
Anyway, very good.
It is.
So maybe we say that this figure is sort of a very talented alchemist, and they're kind of behind the ingenuity of the kind of concoctions involved in the gang. I like the idea that we treat it like it's a really natural escalation, that like the people who come after the party as they get closer to the truth behind this gang, it starts out with like, oh no, they've got a potion that makes them stronger, to like, oh no, they've got a potion that turns them into like a polar bear.
Yeah.
I like the idea that it's like this, like I feel like that's from something, but I can't think of anything.
A polar bear potion?
No, like an escalation in power level, but through kind of some sort of like artificial means.
Yeah. I'm
might
not sure.
be Gurren Lagann again, but I might be wrong.
Could be, yeah. But cause like I like the way of giving like this gang's goons, they're a bit more stronger because they're drinking this potion, and this potion is they're kind of going a bit crazy because they're high, but it makes them stronger, and it kind of makes them a bit more berserk. So maybe they all have like maybe the ones who have morbid have like, you give them like a reckless attack on their stat block or something.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, something like that.
So yeah, like that'd be cool, right? Like if like that's something that starts to become well known in the city, that there's this potion that like basically gives you like enhanced strength, and like that makes you feel invincible, but also makes you kind of angry. And so like we call it like aggro. So like people on the street, they're calling it aggro. That's kind of like fun.
Yeah, just like your cop characters are like,
your Dirty Harry sort of NPC companion.
I shot a kid.
Like.
Do you know what the weird thing is? I actually don't think he shouts it. I think I watched the scene recently and he just says, I shot a kid.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't. I think he does say it with force, in fairness.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think he.
Sorry, that's from Die Hard. That's Carl from Die Hard.
That's Carl from Die Hard when they're talking over the radio.
I think that's Carl. Or is that his character in Urkel? I don't know.
No, I thought he was Carl. Oh, I could be wrong. You know what? I can't remember anyone's name from Die Hard.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah. So you've got like, okay, so the sort of the products that are being pushed on the street, I'm using inverted commas with my fingers here. We've got like aggro, which is like the gets you high, makes you angry, helps you fight. And so maybe like local toughs are kind of enjoying that. And it's also like, I think especially we see it being used a lot on the docks, right? And maybe some kind of slightly shady privateers are even buying it for use when they're at sea if they get attacked by pirates, or because they themselves are pirates. You know what I mean? So like they're buying it for their crew to use in battle.
Right.
So there's like a regular supply of that. So we've got that, and then maybe we've got something that's a bit more straightforward. That's called like, like bliss or like euphoria, and it's just something that lets you. It's just like, it's just you just bliss out and like you're just gone.
Yeah,
and
like
that's
you don't
popular
have
with like the upper rungs of society. Please, sorry, DC.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say that you don't have to like go into detail with it through drugs and stuff, but you want to make sure you have like your different kinds of drugs where you have your uppers and your downers and stuff. Like I'm thinking like
exactly.
Coke being like, you get the guys who the goons who are on basically the Coke equivalent are kind of have like haste on them, like
like
stuff like that.
If you're, by the way, if you're interested in kind of a little bit like historical context in history, a lot of the time cocaine was called like snuff when it was used a lot among polite society.
Right.
So that's like you could have people reference that, either that like the thing that he's dealing is called snuff, or people are like, oh, it's way stronger than snuff. It's a lot more dangerous. You know what I mean? Like that idea that there's a reference to kind of the other use of drugs in your setting and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because back when it was called snuff, it was very popular in like polite society. Like, it was very small amounts, and it wasn't nearly as refined as it is now. But even still,
yeah. But like a bunch of drugs making people's lives bad. You can kind of you can if you tell your players that you're gonna do campaign like that, like we're gonna do kind of like a crime based game, but with like some drugs kind of in it. They're like, okay, cool, we'll make hero characters that want to stop this kind of stuff instead of like hopping
no to drugs.
Instead of like hopping into the game, go like, oh, cool, drug game, great man, hit me up,
hook me up,
man.
But yeah, I think the only thing you need to focus on is like the only reason I'm listing a few is just to come up with the ones that like in terms of like what the players can target. Yeah, exactly. So like, and then maybe we've got like blackpowder bombs, right, which are just like fire bombs or whatever,
or like kind of like a fire breath potion or something.
I like that. Yeah,
that's an actual potion, I think, but maybe there's like one that kind of makes your breath fire and like it gives you like some sort of fiery high or something. But like it's like dragon breath. Here, have this, and I'll make your breath dragon-y. So breathe some fire on them.
What might even be cool, like as a sort of a wild card, would be like if one of the potions that was offered like by this alchemist was like just you drink it and you roll on the wild magic table. And the idea is really like cool, it's unpredictable magic, but like, and maybe the idea is like it's actually really easy to produce, but for normal people who would normally never have access to magic, it's very exciting to see any magic, and especially to control magic, even if only briefly.
Is there like a wild magic? Is there a wild magic that like levels you up or something, or is that like a deck of many things thing?
There's a deck of many things thing, but I don't know if there's any wild magic that does it. Although I don't know the table off by heart, unsurprisingly.
Yeah. How dare you, Daniel?
I'm so sorry. I failed you. I failed you.
Cool. Well, that's a cool. That's a cool.
That a good villain, good head honcho. We stick them at the top, and
we shall put that person there
to spin.
We shall leave him nameless for the moment, or even even for you to put your own name in it, but. Whatever, we'll leave him nameless for the moment. The head honcho of the bad scientist, the weird alchemist. Weird alchemist. No, that's a terrible name.
Weird alchemist Yankovic.
Weird. Full Metal Yankovic. We're going a bit crazy
too. That's the best part.
Yeah.
If you were like, listen, Weird Al, I've got a new idea for your next album.
Check
full
it out.
metal covers of everything you've done before. All your greatest hits, but full metal covers.
Do it. It only makes sense if you listen to this one podcast that's like episode 35 or something of this strange Irish podcast. Cool. So do you want to have the rest of the guys kind of be alchemist based, or are they all kind of different styles of fighting? How do you see the squad going?
I think they're all tied to the idea that this gang. So like one of the things I would say is that unless you're being very specific, it's fair to say that the main thing a criminal gang wants to do is just like most organizations is just consolidate power, right? So like they want money and resources and value, and they want to control people and stuff like that. So if we're assuming that their main interest is just selling these various like substances for money, then we can just say that like everyone involved, all of the lieutenants are in some way involved in this process of the gang wanting to sell their products illegally and make money using it, and keeping that money safe and keeping the like gang safe. Like, so we're basically like that sort of. So I don't think they have to all be alchemist based, but I think it's fair to say like they'll just all be kind of tied to the structure of like what the gang does. So I'm thinking as a kind of a basic start, we'd have someone like an enforcer, like basically like the heavy, the sort of like a very capable frontline fighter who's also a solid like leader.
Yeah.
And maybe even like trains other members of the gang so that they can fight.
Yeah. Maybe he has like a good grasp of the kind of the potions, inverted commas, that he has. Maybe he kind of knows what to take, the right amount to take to make him fight the best.
He's got like this person has an excellent amount of like self-control and sort of like can like temper the use of the alchemy to like enhance themselves.
So he can drink a whole lot of aggro and kind of like not be as crazy, but be powerful as well. So he'd be a good boss fight like that for that kind of arc, I guess.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So we'll have someone like that who's like kind of this enforcer. They'll have like a lot of like aggroed goons at their disposal. That'll be kind of their thing. Like a lot of straightforward, like these are my boys. They're gonna get you, and sort of just kind of a big slug out in the middle of the street or whatever. That'd be cool.
big tickle fest.
And then so like I think another cool like kind of lieutenant would be someone who manages like trading on the docks, because I like the idea that like that's a big part of their operation is like getting people to buy their stuff in the docks area, because it's a little bit like it's the rough side of town already, because it's where loads of strangers show up. And so like basically like peddling it, but also like maintaining their control and territory and making deals with captains. So maybe this person is like a tavern owner or someone who has access to both like the captains of ships and the crewmates of ships. So I think maybe like the owner of like a tavern or an inn or like a coach house or something like that, or maybe like a quartermaster or a dockmaster. Someone who has kind of that like wide-reaching access and maybe even has like a foot in high society. But like runs this criminal enterprise like very ruthlessly, but is very amiable with sort of their customers basically. And so maybe like the stopping them in a fight is difficult because the only place they ever are is their tavern, and the tavern is full of A, like goons presumably with access to aggro, and B, like captains and crewmates of those captains who are presumably friendly with this tavern owner.
Like, and if they're
and
a
you don't know
crime
what
boss,
they're
I can
capable of.
and if he's a crime boss, and if he's maybe like a guy who runs a dock, then I can picture him like bringing in like pirates and stuff like that, no problem. Where he's like, sure, you're like, give me some money, come on in, you're allowed, come into, you can dock, no problem. Like,
oh, that's cool actually. I really like that actually, that like he like it's like a corrupt a corrupt dockmaster who's like signing off on like pirates coming into dock. So but there's there's way more like shady characters down by like the docks are way more dangerous than they were a little while ago, because like this guy, the dockmaster or lady, this dockmaster, whoever they are, we don't care. This dockmaster is basically like taking money from both sides, right? Like is selling the product to the pirates and then selling the dock to the pirates as well. So like they pay him to come into port, and then they pay him again to take the product. So like this or them, sorry, I apologize for assuming their gender again. So this dockmaster is like literally like in the money, right? And maybe that means that like they obviously like being a dockmaster is a pretty significant position, and so maybe like they have this position of privilege and they're getting all this money in, and so maybe they're like starting to operate in noble circles, and that's maybe like kind of how they interact. And so maybe they don't run a tavern, or maybe they just like they stay in like a really like high class place, right? Maybe it's not even on the dock, like it's somewhere a little bit further away where like the captains and the nobles and the like the wealthy merchants all meet and hang out, and like this dockmaster hangs out there,
Yeah,
and so
and maybe they are
and
like
even,
very
so like even getting in is hard, right? Like because you have to show you're like you have enough money to get in. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say that maybe like he hangs out with the nobles and stuff, and maybe he's actually kind of being all buddy with them, so that like the town or whatever is not like, hey, let's stop this guy. He's definitely doing some weird business. But instead of that, they're like, this guy, he gives us gifts and he brings us out on trips all the time. He's a cool guy. Let's keep him around. That's what
I'm totally thinking. Like when he shows up in the expensive in like you know in this kind of high class gentleman's club or whatever. Like the dockmaster covers all the rounds.
Yeah.
And so like everyone who runs the place likes him, so that it doesn't matter that the docks are becoming more and more dangerous because, you know, all these people are seeing is big business, like is more money.
Yeah.
I like that. That's cool. That's sort of an interesting thing. I like this character because they're like super like political and like almost like ecological in a way, like or economical, I suppose, not ecological. But like the idea that like, you know, if the party just sort of went after the dockmaster and killed them, they'd probably just go to jail.
Yeah, exactly.
I really like that. That's so weird. And they'd be like, wait, but if we kill them, we'll just go to jail. Why? But they're the bad guy. Like
they're the bad team.
I actually really like that. That's so interesting. So like, I like the idea that they have to do kind of a canny, like maybe even like catch them in the act or like frame them in front of their wealthy friends or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, I like sort of like you're going to have to get clever to beat this guy because they're just like, they are not the kind of solution that you can just wave a sword at them and they go away.
Yeah. And you got to make it apparent that it's not, it's going to be, you can't just kill this guy, or you can, but it'll be very difficult. You'll get arrested.
Yeah. Like, I think you just like, I think, you know, again, this is a case of like, depending on the party, you can tell them outright, like if you do this, you'll go to jail, or you can just try to make it clear through like NPCs, or maybe if you're very desperate, you just tell them out of character, like, you know, look, I don't know what you guys think is going on here, but when you think about it from outside of your perspective, you're saying you're going to kick down the door of this gentleman's club and presumably cut a bloody path through all these rich people until you reach the dockmaster and kill them.
Yeah.
And like, what do you think is going to happen to you after you do that? Like who do you think? Like,
yeah.
Like
maybe
like what do you think will the consequences for that be to your characters? You know,
yeah.
And like sort of just break it down in like sort of unambiguous terms and just say like outside, like obviously you know he's done something bad, they've done something bad. But do you think nobody else knows? Do you think nobody else maybe cares? Like,
yeah,
and even kind of trying to get them to think, and I suppose that's maybe the case, right? Like trying to get them to think one level above what they're at. So if they're like, okay, well, you know what, it's a political thing, and this dockmaster is protected in that sense, but we're still going to kill them, and we're going to go rogue. We're going to like kill them and go dark and disappear, and we'll basically turn into Batman. You know, disappear into the underworld, but to fight it rather than to become part of it.
Yeah.
And that's cool. That's pretty fucking cool, all things being considered. Everyone likes Batman. So if you're like, okay, our party's going full Batman, and you're like, awesome, okay, but you're going to need to do the Batman thing and like find a hideout and stuff.
Yeah, we need a bat cave.
Yeah. Quick, to the bank of computers in my basement. Sorry, I just got really unimaginative with the name.
Yeah, that's cool. Sorry, I was about to say some stuff and I kind of forgot them, but I think you just kind of said what I was about to say, really. I was just going to suggest maybe the lord in the town, that he could be friends with one of the lords, and he's kind of fond of chopping off heads or something, that whenever anyone crosses his path, so your party's like, no, let's not kill his friend. We could get executed here. Like, that could work.
Yeah, that's fair. You could go as far as blatant nepotism and just say that like the dockmaster only got the position because he's the lord's brother or whatever, or the lord's sibling, and so like, you know, this is kind of it's bad all the way to the top, but maybe they know like actually the lord is probably maybe then they realize we can bring evidence to the lord, right, and prove that the dockmaster is bad, and then they'll deal with it, and even like that can be a good resolution, that it's like, you know, you even though you didn't exactly obey due process, but you did actually like bring this to someone who dealt with it and put the person in jail, and now, you know, it's going to be stopped. Maybe we'll see. but that idea of like, oh, you've done something, and maybe like you reward them like they've done something right by the city, and so they get like one of the Dockmaster's old properties, or maybe, you know, they get to, like, maybe one of their allies becomes Dockmaster, and now like they actually can start attacking the gang on multiple fronts and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. And if you are fighting him, I guess give him, he needs a cool power. He can stop time. There we go. Moving on.
But only once.
Only once. You can control animals. Yeah, no, this guy's really cool. I like him. He's just kind of, it's almost like he's running the show as well, but people, when they see him, they're like, wait, someone's above him? Oh shit, this is
That's actually kind of cool, actually.
This gang
really
is big.
Good point.
Yeah.
That's actually a pretty cool curtain reveal. If all accounts suggest that the Dockmaster is running the show, and they deal with the Dockmaster, and they're like, "What are you serious?" Like, and that actually could be kind of interesting as almost like as a reversal, right? Like the idea that the Dockmaster is probably quite straightforward. Maybe he doesn't even have that many weird fights, and they're like, "Well, that was weirdly underwhelming." And it's like, "Oh, they're not the boss." Like, you know,
yeah. The
boss is a were-tiger. Like,
I was like, yes, an actual encounter.
But in terms of the Dockmasters, fight, I like the idea that they are like that they can pass in polite society, so they don't take loads of drugs, and they're like kind of a refined figure, but maybe they have like a really dangerous bodyguard, like a big half orc with like a robot arm.
Yeah,
or like
even actually like a warforged or something, like just a construct.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Like a clockwork soldier, like constantly on alert.
Yeah, constantly on alert.
You know, their back has all these different like vials of all the different concoctions that it can like activate to get different special powers during the fight.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's very cool.
Like you know, like a big like red bar for aggro and a blue bar for you know, slick stow, and a yellow bar for, you know, heal and juice or something. And so it's sort of like activating it. So like, you know, every turn you maybe roll on a table and like one of the cocktails fires, and the Warforged gets like a special benefit, like it gets an extra attack, or it gets a bonus to AC, or it gets temporary hit points or something. And then you just
hero,
like,
his eyes are red. Weird, hit him with a heavy attack. Combo heavy attack and light attacks to disarm
and then juggle him with your guns.
Swing him up into the air with your big sword, and then shoot him in the air and keep him up there, and then you'll get an S rank eventually.
Bang, 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 bang.
Yes,
flint locks never need to reload.
I've always liked the idea of someone's bodyguard just being a construct, you know, because like, you know, they're always on alert, they'll always be around, and that's just, it's kind of a very cool image to see of a guy walking down the street with his kind of robot hanging out with him, you know.
That's cool, yeah. I like that a lot.
I remember I think my in my friend Dave's game a while back, Dave B, he because I know I mentioned different Daves in this podcast, so he actually, it was from another friend's character as well, but he basically, his crime boss, a character that he made, he had a warforged army basically, and then they were all connected hive mind to a very powerful warforged that a friend of mine made ages ago, that was kind of the bane of my existence as a DM, but he was a very strong character, but we kind of put him into as an NPC as kind of like this source of the other like army's power, basically. Like if you want to defeat the entire army, you have to like find him sitting on a chair with a bunch of like, you know, tubes stuck into him and stuff. And like have to go in there and fight him, you know.
That's cool.
So I was thinking maybe if it had something like that where he has an army of like different constructs, and then you have to defeat the actual construct. But it's also, things are getting a little bit crazy with that one, but I just kind of wanted to mention it because it was in my head right there. So but anyway, so this guy's cool. The kind of the Dockmaster running the show. We'll quickly go into who else are we thinking? Who else we got?
So we got an enforcer, a Dockmaster. I think in terms like, those are kind of the two main ones, I think. The other ones you'd want would be focusing on like the specifics of each thing. So, for example, if you wanted to make someone whose thing was like dealing with the black powder and getting it in and out of the city.
Sorry, I was just gonna say maybe like a gunsmith or something.
I was going to say the exact same thing.
Yes.
No joke.
Yes. But this makes sense though. Like yeah, like a guy who knows black powder and like and it'll be a fun fight because like he's kind of like a revolver ocelot, loves to reload during battle kind of situation.
This gun is the best gun ever.
Gold single action army, like the greatest handgun ever made.
Handgun ever made. Really?
Really? Sure? Are you sure? Okay. But
like Raiden in the second game gets like infinite trank darts. That's pretty good. Like,
yeah. But yeah, no, because it's just like it kind of gives him like a fun thing where like he's the gun guy, but also you get why he knows about black powder and that's his area. Totally. So, and that means like you have like a bunch of guns going around, and you would want to get him. Your party would want to get him because pistols are kind of powerful, depending on if you use them in your setting or not. But they're normally very powerful weaponry. So if you want to cut that, then it's a good idea. So.
I like this idea a lot. I especially like the idea that I like the idea that you could say things like, to kind of bring it back to that crackdown idea, right? We could say like the Dockmaster is sort of almost like the mini boss of the gang, and like you can't actually get rid of the gang until you get rid of the Dockmaster and the Alchemist, and then maybe like maybe like sort of a, if you deal with the Enforcer, then you have the problem where when you deal with the Enforcer, the main gang has like less guys and less goons with aggro, right? So like now they're like less powerful in fights. And then if you deal with the Gunsmith, maybe the people in the main base don't have firearms anymore or don't have training with firearms, so they're like less qualified.
Yeah.
So like you're kind of bringing back to that idea of like you're chipping away the defenses, and you can even have like, again, you can have an NPC like report to the party and tell them, well, now that you've dealt with the Gunsmith, the people who work in the in the Shrouded Beards main base of operations don't have firearm training or whatever.
Yeah.
I like this a lot. I like this kind of like just to bring it back to the idea of like crackdown, and you're picking away at this hierarchy to like bring down the top. But like, okay, so the Gunsmith, let's say like that, like maybe the Gunsmith doesn't do a lot with the other alchemy stuff, so like maybe they don't mess with the aggro or like the other drugs going around, and maybe like their like direct goons don't either. So like in this fight, you've got like the Gunsmith who's got like this big like custom musket with loads of weird attachments.
Yes.
And they've got like a bandolier of bombs. And they're like running around this big arena, like throwing bombs at you and shooting you and stuff like that.
Yeah, and if you go up close to him, he gets like extra attack with his musket, where he kind of does like a twirl, like it's almost like a spear that he uses.
Yeah, like sort of like a gun kata, and like slaps you around with it.
Yeah, like ow! I thought he wouldn't be good in close quarters.
Piss. And then like their like lieutenants, or so their goons even, like just have maybe like kind of a balanced approach. They have like a pistol and a short sword, and they can like kind of multi-attack with them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like you're always at risk from someone shooting you at range, no matter like where you go. But like you're kind of also clashing with frontline fighters, and it's not entirely just sort of a bunch of people shooting at you until you die.
Yeah.
Oh God, it'd be so cool.
What?
If like the Gunsmith, if you had to, I don't know how you could incorporate this in exactly, but I really like the idea that like you have to get into a ship and have a ship battle with the Gunsmith. So like you have to deal with their cannons first. So like you have to like assault. Maybe they have a naval base. That's probably a bit much. But like maybe the reasoning is, if you fight the Gunsmith and let's say you attack the Gunsmith in their base. If you attack the Gunsmith in their base, the Gunsmith always tries to run, right? And if they escape, they go to their ship, and then you have a second boss fight where you have to convince somebody to give you a ship, or find another way. Obviously, if you've like water breathing for the party or whatever, you're fine. But you have to find some way to get to this ship and attack it. But the problem is, like, now they're out in the ocean, they've got clear lines of sight in all directions. obviously it's the gunsmith's ship, so he's got like these awesome like custom cannons with like weird like, you know, Greek fire ammunition and stuff like that. And so you're like, oh, piss, this is going to be a real divil. And so like maybe then actually a cool thing might be like, maybe like the gunsmith goes out to sea and now the party have to do like a side quest to like convince someone to let them use their boat or get their own boat. And then they have to use the boat to get the gunsmith. And so then they have to kind of like, you know, deal with this like, you know, sort of get through this artillery range of like cannon fire and then like get up close and have this like ship to ship battle where like the gunsmith is like throwing out these big bombs and like setting both their ships on fire. And it's like, you know, they're like, everyone's going to die if you don't stop him in time and stuff like that. Like, cause you know, maybe you fight in the middle of a mad storm or something like that as well. Like,
yeah, that's a like almost like his ship has like a bunch of weird guns on it as well, where there's like cannon fire, there's like mortars, there's like swivels,
and like turrets and stuff like that. Swivels, exactly. Yeah, that's
everything. There's everything on them, and you're just, all you have to do is like, we can't fight this guy with a gunfight. We have to get close to him and take him down close quarters. You know, we have to.
And then when you do that, you get the ship.
Yeah, and if we lose the ship, then that's fine. But like, you get a cooler ship, hopefully, if you beat him. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you get a cool like ship with all these cool custom guns that makes it like really dangerous, and then you've got this cool ship. That's earned it with a boss fight.
Exactly. That's a fun idea. I like the idea of when you fight him the first time, there's like an unskippable cutscene where he runs away and he's like, "You can't catch me, heroes!" And then he goes to the docks that way,
and then he just vanishes. You're like, "What the fuck?"
And then like update quest, like, go find the gunsmith. It's like, why is he out sea?
Update quest, it just goes, go to the dock. You're like, why do we know he's at the dock? Yeah, no, I mean, like, I think, obviously, like, you know, I don't want to take away the agency of the players, so I think it's fair to say, like, this isn't a guaranteed thing.
Yes.
But, like, you could say that, like, I think a reasonable thing to say might be the gunsmith has foreseen the idea that he might be attacked in his base and would rather be attacked while he's on his ship. And so he has made reasonable provision to escape to his ship. Like, so when the party attack the base, like, if they're not quiet about it, and if the gunsmith thinks, I'm going to lose this fight, then the gunsmith will very quickly run away. And, like, you know, and obviously still the party can catch them, but the idea that, like, they do have that advantage of, like, it's part of their plan to run away rather than they are only allowed to do it when they're weak enough.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the gunsmith. They're pretty cool. I like the idea of them being called the gunsmith. It's just a fun, like,
me too.
Do you know where the gunsmith is? Like, that guy. I know him by name. Like, such a notorious name.
Yeah.
But, okay, I think we got time for one more. I feel like this...
I think you're right too, yeah.
We need one more crazy character. I'm thinking, is there like... Because there's kind of... I don't know, there's kind of stuff going on anyway with the kind of the potions and the drugs, but is there some sort of like illegal magic that can be done or something?
That's interesting. What do you mean by illegal magic?
I'm not sure, but maybe there's like not rogue mages, but just kind of, I don't know. I feel like there's like a area there in the gang for like just magic, but you know, a lot of settings in D&D magic is just fine, and it's not really I don't know how you can do it like that. You know, it's kind of I don't really know. I just kind of came to my head there, but
no, I think you've got a good point. We've got a very like martial gang at the moment.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something we need. Like, that'd be interesting. So maybe, sorry, go on.
Oh yeah, maybe there's like, you know, they're using divination magic for bad or something, where they're spying and to get like information or something. Maybe like that. Maybe there's like an information ring, but I don't know how that fits with the rest of the theme, you know, of alchemy, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like, one thing you could do, to touch back on something I suggested like earlier, is like you could have it be the case that like the person, so like maybe so maybe we say something like the alchemist has an apprentice, and the apprentice is the one making the wild magic potions.
Yeah.
But they can make more powerful ones, and they sell those to like the highest bidders, and it effectively like it does the equivalent of like gives you a level in sorcerer.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So like
yeah.
So like you drink this potion and suddenly you can cast spells. Like people who wouldn't be magical suddenly are magical.
Right.
And like so this alchemist has like saved the best for themselves, obviously. So they're like this kind of alchemist turned marginally powerful magic user. Obviously, we don't want to outshine the party because that's not fair. But like, just the idea that they're like also kind of talented magically, and so maybe they're creating an environment where like nobles are just buying these potions and turning into like first level sorcerers and then like fireballing like people's houses and stuff like that.
Yeah. Maybe giving them to like armies in war, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Like again, that kind of export market, like with the pirate docks and stuff like that. The idea that like these people are going to be interested in these tools of war. I don't know. What do you think? Because I think you're right. I like the idea of a magical angle, but I'm not sure exactly whether we should go for kind of a power wielded irresponsibly, or like kind of for a more like a weird magic angle. That would also be good.
I like that idea that you said there, because it's kind of going with what we have already with the enforcer. It's kind of similar. It's thematic.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Where it's like they're becoming stronger through bad means and through one person, and that one person is the guy on top, and he's doing this to all these people, but just in a different way. Where it's ruining your body with the enforcers kind of potions, where they're making you a bit more crazy but more violent, or it's giving you this dangerous. You can kind of make it. Maybe make it apparent that it's dangerous to use as well for your body itself, but it's this dangerous kind of sorcery potion, basically, where it gives you this kind of magic, but it's like, I don't know, it could be just very bad for you as well, where people are
like
when using responsibly, they're like exploding or something, I don't know, or they're just dying, I don't know.
I was gonna say, like, you could just do the thing I said, like rather than rolling on the wild magic table, they become like a level 1 wild magic sorcerer. Or like maybe it's like whenever you use any magic, you have to roll on the table, like, even if you use like a cantrip. Just the idea that like there's always unintended, because like stuff on the wild magic table includes things like, you cast fireball centered on yourself, like, and that's game over basically. So like the idea that just,
sorry, you continue on, I'll let you finish your point.
I was just gonna say literally people exploding, like you said.
And maybe and this is kind of weirdly high concept, but
no,
but sorry, I'm gonna go with it. Maybe he has
this is what we live for.
Maybe he has like, he's able to make this artificial source for divine magic as well.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Where there's he has made this source, or he's made this that was really hard to make, and it was maybe kind of like an ultimate product, but because of that, certain kind of magic users are able to channel through it and use divine magic, where it's like, it's maybe a bit more powerful, easier to use, but it's through this, and it's kind
this is cool.
It's kind of similar to praying to a god, but now instead they're basically doing the same kind of fundamentals, but it's praying to this, I don't know, giant urn of like magic and blood and whatever, just terrible magic that's going on. Once again, very weirdly high concept. Please bear with me on this one, but I kind of like the idea, but I just came up with there.
I like it. So basically the idea is like they have their own like kind of false god, but one who gives them power.
Yes, exactly.
Like, that's pretty fucking cool, honestly. Especially the idea that like the goons invoke the power source by name, and the party are like, who the fuck is this? And like,
who the fuck?
Like, I love the idea that like the sage character in the party is like, I want to find out who this person is, and they like, they spend as much time as they like researching each. Go, you cannot find any evidence of this person, like this creature, whatever it is. You've no idea what it is. That's really cool, and I especially like the idea that like that urn. Like, I like the idea that, okay, you set out the idea that it's just fucking a weird urn, but I do like the idea that you leave room for like unintended consequences, like, oh no, that's actually a god in there. They've made a god, and like now the party have to deal with a new god that exists. Like, that's just really interesting, and it's like,
it's just this weird like dormant thing that's in an urn, and they're like, there's magic coming out of it, and they're channeling it because they're basically kind of worshipping it, but like that's kind of going in like, what's the mechanics of worshipping a god? But whatever, that's high concept stuff. You can think about that in your own way. But like, I just love that image of there's something in there, and that's weird. That's creeping me out now. Like,
I like that a lot. Yeah, it's kind of Dark Soulsy actually.
Very much so. Yeah,
a mysterious urn that gives you power because you worship it.
I think there's something similar in Berserk as well, so that's probably what I got the idea from. So, but not exactly, but it's kind of similar.
It sounds fucking cool to me. I really like it. Yeah. That's really interesting. I like that a lot. Maybe that's like maybe that's kind of the two-pronged street that the gang work on, right? Like some of them can channel like arcane magic through the potions, and some of them can access the divine magic. Although, to be honest, I'm almost inclined to say that the divine magic idea is better, and I like it more.
Yeah, but I'd still love the drinking a potion in your powerful. I still like that idea because not everyone can channel divine magic. It's fun to have that as well.
That's true. Maybe we stick the potions in, but maybe what would actually be really cool if we had like if we said that the divine source, because it's obviously so limited, right? Like it's literally like an urn with some power in it rather than like kind of traditional god. You need one of the holy symbols that are like maybe like a broken off piece of the urn or something like that. Like, you know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
And
or like
so
some
like
of the ash or something of whatever's in there, maybe.
Yeah, of whatever's in there. And so maybe like some of the gang members like have this and they're the only ones who can use the divine magic.
Yeah.
And maybe if the players gain access to it, they can like try to tap into it. But it'll be like difficult because they don't know how to name the creature on the other end and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. That's a strange one, Mikey. Yeah,
I like it a lot. It's very weird. I like this idea of like this weird new kind of almost god coming into existence. And I like what I really like now is there's some really interesting space where you can deliberately have it so that like if any users of that magic survive and the party don't deal with the urn, then like the leftover remains of the gang form a cult. Yeah, and now there's a cult in town. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I love this sort of like the continuing consequences of this, like one like person's actions and the party dealing with them and stuff like that. Yeah, so, like first it was a gang of weird alchemists, and then you killed the gunsmith and took their boat and threw the dockmaster in jail, and you fought the shrouded beard on top of a roof, and he explained his tragic backstory, and then you said whatever and used hold person and beat the shit out of him. And then and then you were like, that's probably it, right? And you went home, and then it was like, oh, there's a cult in town. Like,
and you're like, right, guys, come back next week. Are we making new characters? Nope, you're not. What? That's weird. And then you tell them this cult situation. I feel like the main baddie, the head honcho, weird alchemist his main project has to be this god urn, artificial god, because it's very much like cool. Mad scientist making this thing much bigger than him for his life project,
Yeah, and especially like it's interesting again because we can touch on that idea of like, depending on how you want to depict them, this gang leader can be like almost a sympathetic figure where like their intention with this god urn was good, but the only way to set about achieving it was through these nefarious means. And like, so as far as they were concerned, they just needed the like money from the gang for like reagents and components to go through with these rituals. And it wasn't ever about like hurting people or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, you could kind of you could set up like the dockmaster as kind of like the malice behind it all, right? Like the dockmaster was actually the one who kind of reveled in the cruelty of it, whereas this person was more interested in their own research, or not, depending on how you want to depict them. But like, there's this space there for like different kind of characterizations of your antagonist, which is always cool.
Yeah, very much so.
You can make them like the dark mirror of your party or whatever.
Yeah. These guys turn out pretty cool. I like them. I like it too. I quite like these guys. But I'm actually getting kind of tired, so we might actually wrap it up. So
I think it's time to wrap it up. It's 11:20.
Jesus, 11:20. We record these
past your
late.
bedtime.
It is. It's very much past your bedtime. I got work to do.
You do, God.
But
Oh boy.
we're very much in the holiday season now, and
We are.
it's coming towards holiday towards Christmas time, so it's like time to finish up work and get all the jobs done quick. So you gotta do that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, any closing comments on our criminal gang, on our bad alchemists?
I like them. I like how they turn out a lot. I think the only thing I would add to kind of flavor this villain squad and flavor this arc is that no matter how powerful they are, they shouldn't be homogenous. Even though it's one gang, I'd say it should feel a bit like the different parts of the gang have some maybe disagreement, because I always think that's more interesting. I also think I would add that even if we say, well, the Dockmaster is corrupt and in charge, I think you should still have things like there are parts of the guards or the militia or whatever you want to call the people who look after the city. There's like parts of them that are kind of good and facing off against this gang, and there's like other gangs who are being pushed aside by this newcomer who are like trying to fight back. In other words, I think there should be like avenues for the party to reach out for allies and sort of fight back against this group.
Oh yeah,
on a larger front.
Or D&D organizations people tend to think they're kind of like homogenous, as you said, where like they all agree on the same thing, and they're fighting for that same goal. But it's very much interesting, especially for your villains, actually even more so your villains than your good guys, to like disagree with each other. It's just kind of there's a lot of fun to that. So your players might not get to see that a lot, because that's kind of stuff that you see mainly in like TV shows, where you get to see the villain's point of view and they're disagreeing in the villain hall, but you can you can show it a little bit, to your
in the
players.
big boardroom. Like and like it might be worth kind of sitting down with yourself and deciding like, oh, how do these characters feel about each other? And like that's something we didn't really get time to do in this episode because we were too busy going weird high concept. But
hog wild.
Hog wild.
Yeah.
But like the idea that like maybe the enforcer isn't comfortable with the fake divinity of the urn, or maybe the gunsmith and the dockmaster don't get on because the gunsmith wants a bigger share, because obviously they're also kind of a pirate captain. Or maybe like, maybe the gunsmith like was like publicly humiliated by the dockmaster and so doesn't like them and like doesn't have any captain friends, or does have loads of captain friends and really likes the dockmaster and doesn't care about the rest of the gang and is kind of just working for them. So the party take out the dockmaster, maybe the gunsmith just leaves and they get a freebie basically. That's kind of interesting as well.
They're like maybe even like, because I know if you click the right dialogue options or something and they happen to talk to the gunsmith, then it may be like, all right, you want to help me out, get rid of that dockmaster, and then I'll leave.
Yeah,
right.
like that. Actually, that's a good point. Like this, and here's an interesting thought, right? Like here's something you could always think about. If you have the idea that the different members of your gang have different ambitions and goals, then okay, let's say for example the gunsmith, right? The party attack the gunsmith stronghold and they lose. They get shot to bits, but rather than dying, the gunsmith basically says, all right, you're at my mercy, and he like ties them up, throws them down in a cell for a couple of days to dry off, and then says, okay, I'm going to let you go, but here's what I want you to do. And so maybe the gunsmith says, go and kill the dockmaster, and the gunsmith knows that if the party do this, as we said before, because the dockmaster operates in high society, like the party will become criminals. But they also know the dockmaster is one of the members of the gang, so they're like, all right, well, we have to do it or he'll kill us. And, we have to do it or he'll kill us. So we have to do this thing that we kind of wanted to do already, but we didn't necessarily want to do it this way. So now we have to do it the way we don't want. And that's going to have consequences that we were trying to avoid. And like, that's a really interesting space.
Yeah.
And it's certainly, it's a little easier narratively to work with than he shoots you all and you die, like, and then he throws your bodies into the ocean or whatever. The idea of him going like,
that's what I did.
Like, oh, he, and it worked. But just the idea of instead, it's like, oh, he basically says like, all right, look, I beat you. If you don't agree to do this right now, I'll kill you. The party can agree and obviously be lying, and that's fine too. but maybe the agreement is like the gunsmith says, I'll let you go, but this cool magic sword you got, I'm keeping it until you bring me his head.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so now, like, they want their magic sword back.
Yeah, they can
And it's
easily
like-
just run away, but they're like, actually, I like that sword. It's good. I'm going to keep.
Yeah, like I think that's a super straightforward idea. Literally, just have the gunsmith say, like, you know, if I were you, I'd run right now. So this is my collateral. I'm taking your enchanted weapon.
Yeah.
And now the party are like, no, I got that from a loot box. I paid real money for that.
I paid $20 for 200 gems, which I paid for to get that sword.
Rookie mistake.
Very much. So yeah, I got
Should have bought the slippers of spider climb.
Yes. I don't really have.
No
much
one ever
to say.
takes them because they're slippers.
No one ever takes the potion either of fire breathing.
Oh,
Don't forget. Here's some villain squad miscellaneous goons to use in whatever games. A samurai. Just throw a samurai into that gang somewhere. A guy with a double-sided sword. Could be a samurai as well. That's fine. Go with that.
okay.
How about a guy with 2 heads? That'll be a bit of fun. That's a bit of fun there.
That's
Go with
cool.
that one. A gnome who speaks only in rhyme. That's a bit of fun as well. And the list is endless, guys. I have too many of them right now. I just can't tell them you all. I can't say them all right now.
Fair enough. Also, do a scene like in Empire Strikes Back where if the party make themselves enough of a nuisance, they get a gang of colorful bounty hunters sent after them.
Yes, just do the Bosk and Dengar scene.
It's me, Bosk. What's up? And you're like, oh fuck, who's this guy?
It's like,
And then obviously, like, DC gets really pissed off that the party don't recognize Bosk. And it just turns into like an argument instead of a D&D game.
it's Bosk. Come on, guys.
How the fuck do you not know who Bosk is? Right, the game's cancelled. We're watching Empire Strikes Back.
Or do the scene in Return of the Jedi where Darth Vader throws Palpatine off the side and he falls.
Throws mankind off Hell in a Cell.
into the audience, into the announcer table.
Fell 15 feet into the announcer's table.
That's a great meme.
It's a very good meme. Okay.
Yeah, we should end up there.
We do the wrap up, yeah?
Let's do the wrap up, yeah.
Cool. If you've enjoyed this, you can subscribe to our RSS feed. You can also subscribe on iTunes, and we're on Spotify as well. So you can find us basically anywhere you listen to anything, which is nice and handy. A lot of people are using the Spotify and saying it's very helpful, which is good. I kind of added it on a whim, but apparently it's actually really good for a lot of people. It suits them very well, and I'm glad to hear that because
it suits me as well. Actually,
well, that's great. Like, because I think I might be one of the only people who doesn't use Spotify. So like, I legitimately wouldn't know, but I thought like, oh yeah, some people use this, but apparently it's very helpful. So there you go.
Yeah.
You can check us out on Spotify. We have a website, which is creatureclubpodcast.com. You can see all the episodes there. We also update it, even if there isn't an episode, just to let people know. You can use the contact us forum to like drop us a message. We've also got an email, which is creatureclubpodcast@gmail.com. And that's, wait, did I say at Gmail twice?
nope, I didn't hear it, but it's
Okay,
only
thank
if,
goodness.
if,
I thought
if
I
he
honestly
did,
thought
then
for a
there's only
mad
one
second I
Gmail.
had. Okay. I'm so sorry. Yes, we have a Gmail as well. You can email us there. On the subject of people contacting us, Callan emailed us a little while ago. I don't know if you guys shouted him out on the episode, the second Demons episode.
We didn't. No, go ahead, read it out.
Okay, well, I was just going to say thank you very much for your kind email, Callan. He mentioned, I think this was 2 weeks ago now, that he's very much enjoying the podcast, which was very great to hear, and also that he is finishing up Tomb of Annihilation. I think he would have done that, I want to say 2 Sundays ago now, but I could be wrong. I hope you annihilated all the tombs.
Yes, I hope all those tombs were annihilated, and I think
those pesky tombs.
I think if you defeat the players, you win because you annihilate them or something. I don't know.
That's what I assume. That's how I assume the Tomb of... Yeah, I assume it's like if you kill the players, they have to like all sign a piece of paper and you send that to wizards. And then like you get money or you get gems.
I'm pretty sure it ends with a wizard going up to you and saying, "You really were a tomb of annihilation." It just looks into the camera for a really long time.
So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your kind words, Callum. Thank you so much.
That was actually, I really appreciate that. We're sorry we made your finishing up a campaign into a goof. I legitimately, I don't know anything about Tomb of Annihilation. I've heard it's cool. It takes place on the continent of Chult, I believe, and there's a bit about dinosaur racing at the start. And that's legitimately all I know about it. Also, it's presumably about a tomb. That's I'm terribly out of my depth here. But I very much appreciate the kind words, and I hope that the ending went well. And I hope whatever you do next, it's also cool. You should let us know. You should let us know if you are doing another pre-written adventure, or if you'll be doing something of your own volition, and maybe you'll be using all these weird villain squads we keep coming up with. If you do use the God Jar, please tell us. Like
the God Jar.
No joke. This is the God Jar.
It gives me strength.
By Richard Dawkins.
It gives me strength.
It's just a strength. It gives me +1 strength.
Yes, sorry, we're goofing over this, but yes, let us know what you do next time. We'll love to know if whatever. And if you have any cool monsters, go ahead, send them on to us as well.
I really appreciate that.
Cheers to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheers to yourself. I hope that the finale went well. And
we
whatever
think
you do
very
next,
much outside the box ourselves. It's that's kind of what we do.
We can't help it. It's our terrible curse.
Yeah.
And whatever you do next, use the God Jar.
Use the God Jar.
Or don't, because honestly, it's fucking weird.
Please, somebody use this God Jar, please.
I mean, like, I want to use it, I'll be honest, but like, I'm not allowed.
I'm looking at my world map right now, and I'm just like of my setting, because I have it on my wall now, just for inspiration. And I'm like, just for like drawing new islands. I'm just like, where can I put this fucking God Jar?
You just got a big red pen. You're looking with a circle.
Yeah.
Where can I fit the God Jar? Okay. As we mentioned before, we're on Twitter as well, which is @CreatureClubPod. We always update that with our episode links, and as well as that, it's definitely the easiest way to get in contact, because I think we're all kind of keeping an eye on it. So if you've got any questions or complaints, or if you are going to use the God Jar, like, let us know. Or even just, in fairness, like, you know, less specifically, if you do find like that you want to use this gang now, because I always find after I finish a creature club, a villain squad even, or a creature club, actually both, but we're talking about villain squad right now, Daniel, don't get distracted. I always find, like, right after I'm finished it, I really want to like do a game with that thing, you know what I mean? Like when we do like the Thieves Guild, I want to do like when we do like this, the Crime Gang, I want to do this Crime Gang game. When we did the Assassins Guild, I was the exact same. Maybe they could both fit in the same city, which would be fucking crowded.
Yeah, very much, but it could work.
Yeah.
Great. Let's leave it at that. Thank you for listening to Villain Squad this week. Join us next time. I've been Mikey.
And I've been Dan.
Stay cool. Do you want to introduce this one?
Yeah, all right. Let me just put my tea down very carefully, because it's quite hot.
It is very
cool.
It's quite. I'm not trying
to rob you.
I'm not trying to help you. I'm trying to rob you.
So good. All right.
That's the best thing that's going
on. Bravo Biggins.
Bimbo Baggins.
Bimbus Bragfield. Oh, it's so good.
Brilbo
Baggins. Brilbo Baggins. It seems fine now.
Bimbo Baggins.
Bimbo Briggets. Bralbus Bumblebore. It seems to be good. Yeah, I'm not peeking. Sorry about that.
No problem.
And I'll bring us in 3, 2, 1.